Where are you on fats? I mean, Gabriel Cousens is saying that you need these fats. These people last night were saying you don't want fats. They're not saying don't. They're saying this should be a moderate part of your diet. So we want to understand avocados, olives, raw seeds, raw nuts, and oil. Are we trying to eat as much as we can, as little as we can, in the middle? Why are they saying not to go near fats? Answer the question on raw whole food plant fats, raw seeds, raw nuts, avocados, olives, and then you could separately talk about oil. What should we think about this subject, this question?
So let me start by saying I have enormous respect for people like Dr. McDougall, who was the first medical doctor who stuck his neck out 50 years ago and told people to eat a plant-based diet. And the other, Michael Clapper, worked here with us at Hippocrates at one point. Now, the way that they view the world is through the reductionist ideology of allopathic science. So it's not really about what's good for you, what we can add. It's about when we remove certain elements from the diet, what benefits do we have? Now, grant you, when you remove animal-based foods from a diet, that in and of itself is an enormous benefit to liberate the human body to function with homeostasis and more balance. Our approach since 1956 has not been a scientific model that is based upon allopathic ideologies. It is one to go to the most progressive areas of healthcare. Most of the scientists that we read and admire and hold conferences on this campus with are not singing Kumbaya and going along with everyone else. And we do clinical research. Now, all of these wonderful people have done great work and they have private practices. Not one of those people have an institute that has existed for 65 years, where we have a medical team and we literally do clinical work, looking and observing at what people do, what their blood test does, the benefits and long-term outcomes over years, not just a week or a month or a visit in an office. And from that, the cutting edge science that we choose to follow and what we've discovered here, fats are very important for the human body. As a matter of fact, there's only two ways generally a human body gets physical energy. One is either sugar, which is a bad story, and the second one is fat. Now, carbohydrates break into sugar, but there's two kinds of fats too. The kind of fat that I grew up eating was the opposite. It took away my energy. It clogged my veins. This is why they have good results when they take people off animal-based foods. That's called saturated fats. In the world of plant-based foods, the only one with high saturated fats are palm oils, coconut and palm oils. Everything else is an animal-based food. The second type, which we're major advocates of, in moderation, not in extreme amounts, is what we call essential fats. Oleic acids are what they're called scientifically, and they're omega-3, omega-6, omega-9. And the more data and the more research that's conducted on this globally, the more convinced we are that every man, woman, and child require this as one of their central, or in some cases, major fuel in their body. Now, can you overdo anything? Of course you can. So can people go completely crazy and say to you, for instance, I'm eating 5 pounds of these fats a day because Brian Clement and Hippocrates said it was good. That's not what we said. In moderation. We also, our medical team that's led by Anna Maria, doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, and also our worldwide network of cutting edge scientists, not people all reading from the same psalm book, but cutting edge scientists, pretty much individualize it. So if I'm dealing with a person who just had a heart attack and stroke, I would certainly lean on my colleague and my friend, Dr. Esselstyn. When he said, don't take any oils, he comes through a window of that. And Dr. Esselstyn has had such an enormous influence on the new generation of conventional alternative doctors that you just mentioned, some of them, that they pretty much tell you that all oils, including good oils, are going to clog up the interior part of the vein. Well, that's a theory. We also know from major studies that have been conducted in several universities in several countries around the world that we see that people, when they get older and they don't lose their memory, they're acutely awake, as we say, they tend to have high fats without high saturated fats involved. And so we see people at 100 years old with good memories. Well over 90% of these people are having high saturated fats. So we individualize. If you have cancer, it's one thing. You have diabetes, it's one thing. If you're an athlete, when I'm training Olympic athletes here, I'm going to give them a whole lot more fat than I would take or you would take, Steve. So we agree to disagree on this. And the view I have, quite simply, is that that's the latest pop ideology that this group of doctors have. And that's been about 3-4 years. Give them a while, they'll change, as I've seen them over the decades.
So if someone's listening at home, did you just say have one avocado at lunch and one avocado at dinner? Did you say have 2 avocados at lunch and 2 avocados at dinner? Did you say have a bag of almonds? Like what did you just say? I'm
saying when we give advice, we have reports in front of us. We know what the person's going through. Are you a super athlete? Do you have stage 4 cancer? Do you have diabetes? Have you just had a heart attack? So we individualize that. So do we think saturated fat is good for everyone at some level? No. Do we think omega oils are good, oleic acids are good for everyone at some level? Yes, we do. So that's the answer. And so individualizing this is really what matters in each and every case, personalizing.
So if someone is having some health issues, not cancer, but they have, they're 20 pounds overweight, their blood pressure is a little high, they have a little bit of diabetes, high blood sugar. What are you telling them at lunch and dinner regarding avocados and olives and seeds and nuts? Are they
a person like that that's trying to lose weight? We'd probably say a half an avocado 4 or 5 days a week. We're saying a handful of nuts 3 days a week. Here, the general routine we have for the general populace at the Institute is we only have nuts and seed as main courses twice a week. Other days we may offer seed sauce made out of sprouted. Now remember, we're not talking about just normal nuts that are really hard to digest. We germinate them, we sprout them, we liberate them. The essential fats become omega oils. I mean, what you have to understand, when you germinate something, it is a radical different food than if you eat it in its whole form. So that's why when we break it down to a simple essential fatty acid, it becomes remarkably easier to digest. Now, I think the conversation we should have is oils that are taken from these things. And you have to understand 1 tablespoon of, for instance, corn oil, they have 12 ears of corn that make that. That's a lot of corn. Would you eat 12 ears of corn? At one point, I would have eaten 24, but most people no. And so these are the considerations. Olive oil has a lot more oil. So maybe 4 olives, certain kinds of olives would make a tablespoon of oil. And does a person have an oxygen deprivation problem? Would I tell somebody with a virus that was going on a respirator that it was a great thing to eat oils? The answer is no. And so, good practitioners don't generalize. They just have general ideas, what's good and what's bad. And then we individualize and personalize.
Yeah, I would just add maybe, I've been able to, I'm really privileged, I feel, to be going to Hippocrates now for, gosh, probably 10 or 15 years, giving lectures. And then, as we just heard, we were there for about 2.5 to 3 months. And it's fantastic to see all these people coming through from, traditionally it was all from all over the world, a lot of people from Europe. This last year was more Americans, but with all kinds of problems, ranging from being overweight, like you were saying, Steve, diabetes or cancer, and just seeing these really practically miraculous transformations in many people. Their bodies loosen up, their strength comes back, the weight goes off, their cancers reduce or go away. And it's very clear that what I just want to underline what we just heard from Brian, because I think most people, when they think of eating seeds, they're just eating regular nuts and seeds. But when you sprout them, and the Hippocrates has been really at the cutting edge, I think, of understanding the benefits of sprouting, and really not just theoretically, but actually with people and trying things out and seeing what works. And I have to say, being there week in and week out and eating that food, it's like your body starts really transforming in a positive way. We've always eaten a healthy vegan diet, very similar to what Brian's talking about. But I think at that place, it's a good thing for people to be aware of, because they only have the highest quality foods. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. It's really important to get high quality, like organic, whole foods from the best possible sources, because our planet right now is awash in toxic chemicals. And these chemicals are really, I think, the driving force behind a lot of the diseases that we're having. We like to blame it very often on viruses and other things, but really it's these chemicals. And so the kind of way that Hippocrates is recommending people eat, it's really about cleansing, like cleansing and detoxifying. And I think it's good to question the thing about oils, because a good, healthy, like avocados and so forth, I think there's a cleansing quality to those. At least that's been my experience. We seem to don't get sick on that, on the food there, and it seems to be cleansing very much.